Hello everyone, Kovic here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm excited to share the Ranger build I'm using currently, which is perfect for those who like lightning and cold based damage with some serious mobility and speed. This build has carried me through maps, trials and even bosses, and I'll be breaking down it step by step, gear, gems, passive tree and gameplay tips. Whether you're looking for inspiration or just curious about how to optimize your Ranger, this video has you covered. So grab a drink, sit back, and let's dive into the build. But before we dive into the details, I want to give a huge shout out to Fubgun. The current build I'm using was inspired by one of his amazing work. When I made some small tweaks and modifications to fit my playstyle, but the core concept is thanks to him. If you haven't already, definitely check out his work and builds on the link in the description below. So currently I'm playing a Deadeye Ranger with Lightning and Cold based build, which evolves around Lightning Rod, Orb of Storm, Lightning Arrow, and the Heralds. So for the skills and gems I'm using, for Lightning Arrow I'm using Martial Tempo, Ice Bite, Innervate, Inspiration and Primal Armament. For Lightning Rod I'm using Scattershot, Concentrated Effect, Heft, Close Combat and Rising Tempest. For Herald of Thunder, Cold Infusion, Glaciation, Longshot, Lightning Mastery and Cold Penetration. For Herald of Ice I'm using Lightning Infusion, Conduction, Magnifying Effect, Overcharge and Cold Mastery. For Wind Dancer, Blind, and for Custom Shock, Ball of Lightning, Deceleration, and for Custom Freeze I'm using Voltaic Mark, Life Tap, Energy Retention, and Impetus. For Orb of Storms I'm using Chain, Persistence, Unleash, and Overabundance. Also for escaping I'm sometimes using Escape Shot with Holy Descent. As for my passives, for the Ascendancy I'm using Point Blank and Additional Projectile and the Tailwind passives. And for the other passive, my current setup looks something like this. I'm focusing more on the elemental damage and also on the cold build up and the freeze build up. Also some movement speed, gems, also for stun, freeze build up. So on the top I go on this way. More elemental damage, freeze, and so basically the whole build is working around elemental damage, lightning damage, cold damage, freeze, and freeze build up basically. For the gems I'm currently have a mix of damage, most like projectile damage, for increased bonus from quiver, speed, attack speed, elemental damage, attack speed, projectile damage, and so on. Since I don't have all the good ones yet, because this build is pretty expensive. For my gear, and for my current gear looks something like this. I have the unique armor with rarity and elemental resistance. This helps me to reach the elemental cap pretty easy, so I can focus more on damage and other things. I have the unique glow, which gives me attack speed and the lightning damage based on intelligence and dexterity for the attack speed, and boots with 30% increased movement speed. Yeah, so this is my current gear so far. As for the gameplay, it's pretty much for map clears. I'm using the lightning arrow mostly, and sometimes the lightning rod, but usually lightning arrow is pretty enough. And for bossing I'm using the orb storm and the lightning rods basically, and that's how you kill the boss. So let's see this build in action. So for maps, basically just run around the map, throwing lightning arrows around, some lightning rods when there is a case, but other than that everything will explode. Mobs will be freezed, and the freeze scatter will kill everything in AoE. What makes this build strong is that the explosions for the ice explosion, what you can see on my screen currently. But to be able to do this, you need cold damage. And one of the recommended way to get cold damage is to get the unique jewel, which I don't have. So I found a workaround for that, which I will show you just in a second. And as you can see, basically everything dies in an instant with this build on maps. This is a map 15, tier 15 map, and I can clear it pretty easily. And here we have an elite, and we killed it pretty fast. So to make this build work properly, you need a couple of things. One of them is the jewels with equipped quivers. You can get a lot of bonus from if you have a good quiver. So this is a recommended jewels to have. Also, another one is a unique gem that gives you lightning and cold damage, which is pretty expensive, and I don't have it. So to get more cold damage, I had to come up with a workaround, and that is this this passive here, the Essence of the Mountain, which gives me 5% of damage as extra cold damage and 20% increased freeze build-up. So how I got this one? This is, I used the Delirium enchant, basically. So if we go to the Delirium, we have all these. And if you check the passives tree and you press the Alt, you can see what distilled emotion you need to be able to enchant this to the neck, to the amulet. So basically, despair, ear, and suffering. And I used that and enchanted my amulet, so I can have more cold damage and I can trigger the explosions. One trick to keep in mind, if you see cast on freeze with the percents and you see that you don't have that many shatters or the percent doesn't update frequently, it means you don't have much cold damage. So it is good to add more cold damage to your build. To do that, or you can use the unique jewel, the time lost unique jewel with cold damage and lightning damage, but that's pretty expensive. So you can use cold damage from your items, or you can do what I did, is getting this node here, the Essence of Mountain, which gives you 5% of damage as extra cold damage and 20% increased freeze build-up. So this is helping me to achieve the same thing basically as the jewel, but with less DPS. That jewel is a big DPS gain, so I highly recommend that. On mapping, some issues I have seen with this build is the mobs with the mana drain AoE, especially if they have movement speed and they can chase you really fast. So that's why I'm using mostly the escape shot to be able to freeze them faster, so I can kill them. Because if you run out of mana, you're basically dead. One other issue is the mana. It's consuming a lot of mana. So to solve that, you can have like gems, even some passive you can pick from mana or your items. For example, I have gain mana from my bow. I also have on my quiver. I also have probably on a couple other items as well. Yeah, so that's it basically. This build is pretty straightforward. The only downside is that it's really expensive to build it up properly. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, make sure to comment below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and like to my channel so you don't miss out any upcoming content. Until then, see you next time.